A thread by Carlos Osuita. This is typical of the media malpractice that all of the mainstream press is committing. In discussing Donald Trump, Grassley said exactly the opposite of what Breitbart claims. From Breitbart.com, Grassley calls on Trump to show more empathy, focus on the American people. Breitbart claim Grassley, during Fox Business Network's Cavuto, urged Trump to focus on the American people rather than himself. What Grassley actually said, quote, "This election's about the future. It's about 329 million Americans. It's not about one American, just Trump. And as long as Trump keeps it on what he wants to do for the American people, that's what he's going to do. I'm sure he'll get reelected." Grassley said that as long as Trump keeps on doing what he's doing, he'll win. Breitbart is misleading its readers. Second Breitbart claim. He also called on the president to show more empathy if he wants to improve in the polls. What Grassley actually said, quote, "When something's done wrong, then you speak about that with empathy, and the more empathy the president can show, the more he's going to go up in the polls." Cavuto plows ahead with his anti-Trump madness, refusing to hear what people say. Trump met with the families of black men killed by the police under controversial circumstances. That's not a state secret. Every time Trump speaks about this, he speaks with empathy. But Cavuto says Trump hasn't done so once. Cavuto is insane. A write-off. This is why I don't watch anything on Fox except for the Greg Gutfeld show. I appreciate Hannity, but he's not my cup of tea. I need humor. Same with Ingram. I don't need a daily recap of the latest madness of leftists. Look what the bastard's done now. I don't care what they've done. Someone needs to make a sculpture titled Antifa Raising the Vuvuzela at Iwo Jima. I told you. Trump's support can't be gauged, and nobody can predict the Electoral College vote. When the going seems to get rough, the gutless begin to lose their spines as well. Trump will win, and the GOP will take over the House and keep the Senate. I've never been able to identify the battle, but a small band of Scottish Highlanders faced a charge of French heavy cavalry in the Napoleonic Wars. The commander shouted, "We won't leave this place alive, lads, but we'll make them remember us." And guess what? They forced the French to retreat. History is full of impossible victories won by men and women given up as lost causes. Trump has never faced such a brainless enemy. He defeated the mafia in 2 states, probably more. Do you know what the mafia respects? Badassery. If you show them that you're far more dangerous than they are, they leave you alone. When the Israeli Mossad is getting ready to send you back to your maker, they give you one final warning. They come into your house and rearrange all your furniture. Imagine thinking you were safe, and then that happens. There are lots of ways to scare people away. This is a German flamethrower pioneer in World War I. By sheer chance, I bought the photo on the left, which shows him going off to his final battle. He was wounded so severely that he spent months in the hospital before being declared 100% disabled. He came to the US after the war, became an American citizen, and lived to be 95 when he was very old. A gang moved into a home on the outskirts of town. They terrorized the small town. So, one night, the old man took his Browning automatic rifle, again, and 400 rounds of incendiary ammunition out to the gang's house. He found a perch and began firing, riddling the 3-story house from the top down. When people tried to come out the front door, they saw the muzzle blasts and ran out the back door and into the woods. The old man fired all 400 rounds into the house and set it on fire. Then he went home. Nobody called the cops or the fire department. The house burned to the ground and the gang never came back. You know what happens when you do things like that? The word spreads. Leave that town alone. Of course, this was when criminals were rational. The Seattle cops released some videos of life in CHOP. These imbeciles didn't expect any of it because they're not sentient. They can't think. Trump doesn't need advice on how to be reelected. His operatives are pouring fake news into the open baby bird beaks of the press. When Trump decides that you're a bad faith actor, he shows no mercy. I don't think most people grasp how ruthless he is. That's because it's not personal. Sure, he talks about revenge, and I'm sure he enjoys it, but he doesn't need it. The goal is fixing everything he can. You think Breitbart or Cavuto are in it for us? Please. They belong to a dead era. Their ideas are obsolete. Cognitive rigidity. It's the death of the person relying on that poor brain for survival. There's no such thing as a successful revolutionary who's an orthodox thinker. Trump is a revolutionary. Common sense is the most radical idea in human history. The historian Barbara Tuchman was obsessed with folly, doing something that you know at the time will fail. Cognitive rigidity. I don't fault us, the country, for our folly. Our hearts have been in the right place. But boy, are we screw ups or what? We keep having to reinvent the wheel. This time, the changes will stick. I'm positive. Leftists know it. They wouldn't be acting this crazy if they thought Trump is going to lose. I've been around a lot of dying people. Very often, something happens. As they get closer to the end, the wall between the two worlds gets thinner and thinner. They begin to see and hear things. They know that their time is imminent. Leftists are in the seeing and hearing phase, and they're fighting it like maniacs. How do you fight a 5-mile high tsunami coming at you? How do you fight a tornado? My recent fight for my life didn't change me. No nightmares or flashbacks. I'm way beyond that. It was just, I'm going to live because I have to see what happens. I get to be alive during an evolutionary change in the human species. Yes, it's that profound. Is this going to stop that change? Notice that facial expression compared to that facial expression. The whole era is astonishing and funny as hell. Remember, trust the Trump. And then we have a poem by Stephen Crane. Once I saw mountains angry and ranged in battlefront. Against them stood a little man. He was no bigger than my finger. I laughed and spoke to one near me. Will he prevail? Surely, replied this other. His grandfathers beat them many times. Then did I see much virtue in grandfathers, at least for the little man who stood against the mountains.